Hey, thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. Dave Noriega and Debbie Dujanovic here. Oh, Debbie, we just had some breaking news.
Got the
Are you
memo
holding it in your
right
hand?
here. I am holding it up for you, Dave. I know we're socially distanced. We're not in the same space. This is the email we just got here at Broadcast House from the Davis County School District, where your kids go to school. Why don't you walk us through your disappointment?
Not only is it where my kids go to school, it's where I went to school. It's where my father went to school. I mean,
Mm,
Davis County is where we get educated. This is where the Noriegas, and
mm.
I am profoundly disappointed, sad. My kids are devastated that they switched over from going back to school full time
Okay.
to a twice a week schedule. Uh, Monday and Wednesday, or Thursday and Friday, everybody's off. Or sorry, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, everybody's off on Friday. And
So
that's
this
the new
is
schedule.
right. This is a big announcement. The way I'm reading this is that students whose last name begins A through K will attend school in person in Davis County on Mondays and Wednesdays with remote at home learning Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, your last name starts, it's Noriega, so it starts with an N. Students whose last name begin L through Z will go to school in person Tuesdays and Thursdays with remote at home learning on Mondays and Wednesdays. Everybody has Fridays off.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you
Is
got
it
this
remote learning on
notification?
Friday or is it off on Friday? I couldn't remember the. Does it
Fridays
say
will
remote
be
learning
at
on Friday?
home remote learning days for all students
Okay.
with teachers working from the school site to provide remote instruction. So, what's your reaction, Dad?
I think one of the hardest parts about it is I've got a lot of things going on in my head because
Mhm.
the plan was the original plan, everything we've seen, everything we've talked about was to go back Monday through Friday, wear masks, social distancing when possible, but it was basically returning to school as normal. So this is, uh, it's not even half school. This is 40%. This is 2 out of 5 days. So we've got to
Mhm.
change everything. My wife work
I'm
and have to
having a
figure
hard
he's a
time.
fit and to look like.
Okay. I'm just having a hard time. I think maybe there's some technical, I know you'll find this impossible to believe, some technical difficulties with your Facebook Live this time instead of mine. So give me your reaction again.
The beauty of Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
I think
Go
I think
go
what's
ahead.
so frustrating for us is we've always been planning on going back full time.
Okay.
That was always the plan. That's been every plan I've seen. Now to go back at 40%. Now, what do I do when my wife works and I work? What are we going to do with my 10-year-old? My wife's going to work every single day. I work every single day. Does he just stay home? Am I going to find
Mhm.
someone to stay with him? I'm very frustrated with it because um, I don't know, frustrated or just disappointed. It always felt like we had a choice. If we were not comfortable with our kids going to school, we could keep them home and we could prepare for that. And we knew what that meant. We knew what that homeschooling and online option looked like. We didn't want that. We wanted to return to school. And I just don't think the remote learning is a great option for my family. It's been very difficult. It was not a success. It was not a success on any level, not in high school, not in junior high, and not in elementary school. So the idea of going back to that is very disappointing.
Well, let's get our listeners to comment as well. The Davis District just releasing its back to school plan. It says this past June, Governor Gary Herbert issued a directive to resume public school operations. Each district was asked to submit a reopening plan. Originally, Davis School District, as you pointed out, Dave, planned on a normal school opening with required face coverings and enhanced hygiene. where possible, but due to the prevalence of COVID-19 cases in our community and in order to further limit the spread of the virus, we need to increase our capacity to provide physical distancing in our schools. This is the Davis School District's plan. They're going to split the kids alphabetical. A through K will go Mondays and Wednesdays with remote at-home learning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Dave's kids, because he's within the L to Z alphabet range, will attend in person at their school Tuesdays and Thursdays, remote learning at home Mondays and Wednesdays. Looks like Amanda is weighing in on this schedule, Dave. What does Amanda say? Do you have
Yeah,
that?
she says, I get why they're doing this, but how does this work for working parents? That's a great question. And you can say it's all about the kids, or we've got to look about the teachers, but our society is built around sending kids to school 9 months out of the year from 8 until 4. That is just the way our entire lives are built. It's how our work schedules are built. And to try to minimize that and say, oh, well, you're just going to have to figure something out for the next 3 days. You're going to have to figure out something for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then that's incredibly difficult. Now, fortunately, I have some teenagers that will be home with my 10-year-old, so that eases some of the burden. But now, what am I going to do? I've got 3 kids that need to be online at the same time doing work. How is that going to work? I can't even watch Netflix with 2 devices. How am I going to have 3 kids online trying to do Zoom meetings and Teams chats and homework and questions? It's incredibly difficult, and that balance is going to be brutal.
So obviously, some parents are going to be really upset about this. Other parents might be okay, maybe be in a different position with this. I wonder if through this, well, I'd love to hear you rant. I wonder if we could also kind of crowdsource some ideas for families like yours, Dave. What are families doing to kind of fix these issues within their own homes that the Noriegas are facing? So if you have ideas to help Dave work through this split schedule, now that's going to happen in the Davis district, let us know. Give us your ideas. Ike says, my daughter is in tears. Last name starts with Y, but her 2 best friends' last names are early in the alphabet, so she won't have class with them. Now, your son Austin has a best friend. They're in the same boat, right, Dave?
Yeah, C's and N's will never see each other, and never the twain shall meet. This is just another layer. These kids, they're trying to figure out, oh, do we have lunches together? Well, at least we can see each other in the hallways. This just splits up relationships and something that kids deal with on a smaller level just because they don't have any classes. But as soon as my kids get their schedule, immediately they text all their friends and they start going 1 through 8. Which classes do we have together?
That's
And
true.
that's
I
just going to
forgot about
be,
that. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, oh,
Poor
we have first
Austin.
period together. Oh, we won't see each other, but at least we have lunch together. And as Ike said, they're in tears. They're devastated with this. And I want to know what was the reasoning. I want to know, is it because of teachers? Are you afraid that students are going to pass it to each other, that they're going to pass it to teachers? How long are we going to do this? Ike continued in this comment, says, Dave, the reason we no longer have a choice is because 99% of the parents were planning on sending their kids back, making it so they couldn't social distance with full classrooms.
So let me expand on that, Dave, because in fairness to the district and the school board, my understanding, we actually got a text on this during the show today, during the Dave Dujanovic show, and it caught my attention. And of course, our producer, Andrew Hall, the minute I pointed out the text that the school board had taken this action this morning, had voted on this, we started working immediately to confirm it. Now, we weren't able to confirm it through the show because we were just making phone calls that, quite frankly, we couldn't get to the bottom of it. But right after the show, we did, and I called you and said, you might want to check your email. You're probably going to be getting this. So in fairness to the district, they do list maybe 6 or 7 reasons why they did make this decision because originally, as you said, the Davis School District had planned on going back to a normal schedule in
Yeah.
August, but they've changed course because they're worried about the number of COVID cases and trying to reduce the spread. They say the objectives in doing this type of schedule are to reduce the number of students in school and on buses by half, making physical distancing possible to minimize contact, exposure, and spread. Also, they go on to talk about the teachers and the staff to effectively monitor and encourage physical distancing, proper hygiene, sterilization, and use of face coverings. Also, to enhance contact tracing by the Davis County Health Department. So, when somebody comes to school with COVID, we've all established that that will likely happen at some point. Contact tracing for 30 kids, and I'm good friends with the contact tracer who says, see, they're just overwhelmed right now. But to contact trace for 30 students compared to perhaps 15 students would make a big difference in the ability to contact trace this, Dave. So those are just some of the reasons why. Did any of those
Yeah.
resonate with you?
Well, I can tell you this: the contact tracing does not resonate with me for several reasons. Imagine if I'm infectious, if I have COVID and I'm infectious for 2 or 3 days before symptoms start coming, I'm spreading for 2 or 3 days, and then you're looking at the contacts, that I had maybe the first day or two, and you're starting to realize that you're a week behind at best before you can even start tracking down how many people do you cross paths with in 4, 5, 7 days. Are they overwhelmed? Yes. Show me where the contact tracing has been extremely beneficial. Try to explain to me where that contact tracing has said, you know what, in Kaysville, this is a hot spot. You need to avoid these areas. That's not happening. So what's the purpose of contact tracing? So I've got a whole list of issues for contact tracing. So imagine, especially if you've got kids who are asymptomatic, that don't have as serious as symptoms as perhaps an adult does. How long could they theoretically go spreading the virus before they could actually figure out who this came from? My number one problem, and this is my biggest concern, and it's not the inconvenience to the parents. It's not the inconvenience of trying to find where these kids are going to go in their downtime. My number one problem is the education is poor. That is the whole purpose of school. It's why we spend $6.7 billion in this state every single year, is because we spend billions of dollars on educating our kids. And I can tell you, I experienced it firsthand. Online remote education was brutal. And I appreciate the work. That's not saying that the teachers weren't busting their backsides, that they weren't trying, that they weren't doing the best they could. But I'm sorry, you're going to have to prove to me, and you have to prove to me why this is going to be different. Because I've yet to see a parent come out and say, I don't know, it was great for us. We loved it. It really was effective learning. And if we're not teaching our kids, what are we doing?
Well, we've heard from so many district officials and teachers over the course of the last couple of weeks on the Dave Dujanovic show who've assured us, you and I, and our listeners that it is not the chaos that happened when they shut down schools in March. It's not going to be that same online learning experience that they've had time over the summer to improve things and make it more workable and functional for the student. Now, we also had an online principal of an online school on live with us yesterday, and I feel like she set the bar for parents like you. For example, an hour a day is about what you should be spending or the child should be spending on the core curriculum. So that gives you an idea that if Austin is spending 10 hours a day, something's not probably right with the curriculum, or maybe there's something that you can assist him with, and that should be a point of when you're contacting the school to say, okay, what needs to be done. What do we need to do to make this so it's not 10 hours a day for him? So we now have an idea of how real online schools should work, because I know for a fact from having my own students, my own kids enrolled in online learning, that online learning can work. I think what we saw was just schools slammed the doors shut, everybody ran home. None of the schools were prepared for a pandemic, and you ended up with some kind of, chaos inside your house every single night. And I feel for you. That's not how it should work. And if it works that way this go round, then I think we're gonna have to take a serious look at this, what the school districts were actually doing over the summer, Dave.
Well,
Should-
I have a hard
yeah.
time believing that they were able to systematically fix all of those problems in 3 months. This is completely and totally changing millennia of the way we teach children. So the thought that we're going to fix all these online problems in 3 months with a bunch of people that it's just as new to these teachers as it is to the parents, I think is myopic.
Shawnette Page says, how does this work for bands, sports classes, any of those classes that require the students to be together in order to be successful? It's interesting you bring that up, Shawnette. I was sitting on my backyard last night, and I turned to my daughter, who, by the way, is enrolled in college in all online classes. And she was working extensively yesterday on that. I turned to her and I said, "Can you hear the band? I think I hear the Brighton High band practicing." Now, I don't know for sure if it was the Brighton High band. It might have been another band, but this memo, Shawnette, doesn't say, I don't see that it addresses anything having to do with extracurricular activities. These are great questions. In our pursuit of information at KSL News Radio, we have a team of reporters and producers looking into those ins and outs of the Davis School District plan. And Dave and I are committed to bringing somebody who knows something more about this on the air with us tomorrow to help Dave walk through all of his questions, because obviously, as a parent in the Davis County School District, he has a million. Um, Dave, your wife also works within the school district. She's going to have to work Monday through Friday, it sounds like?
Yeah, I don't know what Friday is going to look like, since it will all
Oh,
be
yeah.
remote learning.
So
So
she
I
might
think
be
she'll
home
probably
too.
be off on Fridays at least. But I look at it and I think, I know they have the best intentions. I have
Mhm.
absolutely no doubt here. I think they don't take these decisions lightly, and I just, you can kind of see it on my face. There's a little bit of a scowl or an intensity about this, is because I can just tell you, we take education extremely seriously in my family. We take it very seriously, and we've been very happy with the public education. There's frustrations like everybody has, but I can tell you, it was crisis learning
Yeah.
in the spring. And forgive me if I'm a little reticent to believe that we've just fixed it all by the fall. And my I'm almost at a loss for words. Quite frankly, I'm at a loss for words, because as I'm trying to process this, I've known this for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just going through my head over and over again, all the things they're going to miss. If you think sports are going to be the same, wrong. If you think band's going to be the same, wrong. Extracurriculars, wrong. All the things that make a high school, junior high, elementary school experience great, that softens the blow of sitting down and grinding out math equations, it's going to be gone.
So
So
can I share
it's,
with you
yeah.
my mom approach to moments like this? I'm only 10 years older than you, Dave, and my kids are raised, and I know I had my failures as a parent. I had some successes, but my mom approach in moments like this, maybe it'll help and maybe it won't. Maybe you'll just tell me to, go away, get off this Facebook Live with you. But there are ways to address, and I've been through this, so it's a different kind of crisis, but my goodness, I have been through many crises in my life. And there are ways to address moments like this. And one is blow off the steam. And then I would always tell my kids, we got to jump into action, and we got to come up with an action plan. We need action steps because the school board has made this decision. So what are we as a family going to do about it? And I would love to crowdsource some ideas here, getting away from kind of the negative aspect of it. And let's source some ideas because there are so many families in the same boat as you. In the Salt Lake District, they've made a decision to online school all the kids until at least Halloween. Get us some ideas here. Leave some comments. Liz says, as we teachers know how to teach in person, Davis District has revamped our online materials this summer. Hopefully this makes it better for you. So Liz is a teacher. I'm hopeful that they are arming teachers, and teachers are be able to develop the curriculum they need to make it work for your kids. What if this turns into be the most amazing experience that has ever happened to your family, Dave?
I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am. I am in no way pulling for this to fail because it's failing kids. That is not what I want. I'm just dubious that they'll be able to do it effectively because I know how difficult it is for kids to sit down and watch a video and then answer a question, then watch another video and look at a worksheet and go through this. When I say, my kids were spending 10 hours, this was not 10 hours of reading and down. And it was getting up and stretching because I'm so bored and trying to refocus. It was probably 5 or 6 hours of work, but they take twice as long to do it because it is just brutally difficult to sit in one place in an uncomfortable chair and grind out assignment after assignment after assignment. We have free soda at KSL Broadcast House. That's how they're like, just come, we will fill you full of caffeine and soda, drink till your heart's content. And this is for adults. These are grown people that need their never-ending supply of Diet Coke to get through the day. But we're asking the 10-year-old, just sit there and just keep working, buddy. Just keep working.
So Lynn Marie says, I'm so jealous. This is what I was hoping my kids' school would do. Lynn, I don't know what school district you're in, but I have said many times, I think if I were in this situation, I would be choosing the online option. Although we also had Connor Bork of Libertas Institute on the line today during the David Dujanovic show, and he walked us through the cost of homeschooling, the amount of time it takes, how homeschoolers are getting together within their own neighborhoods and moving students within the neighborhood from expert parent to expert parent, because we all have expertise in so many different areas now that we can help teach kids. I particularly liked, if I wasn't going to pick the online option, I might have chosen the homeschool option, even though I work full time, and that would not have changed. I've worked full time. I mean, with the exception of maybe a year and a half when I worked part time. I've worked full time since 1989. So that my job was not going to go away, provided it was still there for me during a pandemic. I've always been a news reporter, and it's a crazy, crazy job sometimes when you're raising 3 kids. I was juggling kids in the backseat of the car. I was juggling homework assignments at 3 a.m. We made it work. It was tough sometimes, but I would have chosen we talked about it last week, the Logan District plan, Dave. I really like the Logan District plan until this plan came out, until the Davis District plan. Now, I know you're upset with it, and we've gone over all of that, but I like the Logan District plan, and that I felt it was the most thoughtful plan we had explored and delved into at the time when it was released last week. I mean, the Jordan School District, what they did is they lopped off Fridays. So to me, that was kind of like 4-day-a-week school. Other school districts have done things a lot differently as well. I think in the Alpine School District, they lopped an hour off the end of the day. Kind of, to me, that was like pre-pandemic school. The Logan District was doing 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the afternoon, switching the kids up. I gave that plan an A. You gave that plan a C. I'm going to give the Davis School District, I'm going to give them an A+. I like this plan, Dave. I like this plan as a mom. What grade would you give it?
Not an A plus. No, I didn't give Logan an A either. I
You
think
give
I
it a
gave them a
C.
B
You gave him a
minus. And
C.
now that I'm in
Yeah,
it,
you're right.
yeah, we're in the D range, because it's
Oh,
really. This is this is my biggest frustration with it. If you weren't comfortable sending your kids to school, you could have kept them home. That was always an option. If you're not comfortable with your kids going to school Monday through Friday, you can keep them home. There is no option for guys like me, families like me that want to send their kids Monday through Friday. How is that not an option?
mhm.
Uh, and I think if you're looking at the number of families in Davis County that were willing to send their kids back full time, I want to know, is this truly about teachers? Were teachers refusing to show up to work? Was it
Mm.
50% of teachers were going to stay home? So we just, quite frankly, we could not accommodate. Let me know this, but anecdotally, teachers are willing to go. And we could have protected teachers. If you're concerned about teachers, we could protect them. We could put them in a bubble,
Mm.
relatively speaking. We could have put them behind ropes where the kids couldn't cross. We could have put up plexiglass. We could have done masks and face shields. There's a million things we could have done to protect teachers. Is it about the kids? Okay, then let me see the numbers that show the kids are being devastated by this virus, because we're not seeing that. We're not seeing the numbers where kids are contracting it and getting hospitalized and dying. That is not happening. And we've been following these numbers every single day for months. So this is not a trend that kids, are going to be hit hard. They just haven't. So yeah,
I'm
there's a great deal of frustration uh, for my part.
Colby Walker saying the way we educate needs to change anyway. Of course, Colby works with us here at KSL News Radio. Is very tech savvy. I love the ability to pause and rewind my teachers when I had online classes. That's a great point. My daughter does that a lot. I have the honor of listening to a lot of her college lectures in biology and chemistry, Dave, and I'm listening to this stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, my kid's really smart. But I love being a part of that. She does a lot of that at the kitchen table. And Colby's pointing out the positive of having online learning. Raylene says, won't know if it works until they try it. True story, Raylene. We haven't tried any of
They
this in the
tried it.
pandemic yet. No, Dave, I think you keep going back to that issue of when they closed schools and then things were chaotic with the online learning. And we just saw from a teacher that things have changed and they've come up with different curriculums. And I also, or curricula, I, what is the, I don't know what the, anyway. And I also know from my own child's online learning experiences that online word learning can work. That's very successful in a lot of environments. Do you think part of this could be you just have a really bad attitude?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah, my bad attitude. It has nothing to do with the complete and total overwhelming amount of information that we're trying to juggle with multiple kids. Listen, does learning work? Absolutely. But you look at where online learning works, and it's in the upper grades. We're talking about senior to college age, where kids
Mhm.
are responsible. They've learned to do this. The majority of kids are 5 to 15 years old. You've got 16, 17, 18, that's a couple years in high school. But the majority of kids are under 15, 16 years old. And we're assuming that they're going to be able to sit down in front of a computer. They're going to log on. They're going to systematically go through their approach like a college kid will. That won't happen. It will not happen. And this is with the assumption that every kid has access to a computer, that they have access to hotspots, that they have access to reliable Wi-Fi. I have good Wi-Fi. Oh, except that I don't when three people are
Mhm.
on at the same time. And do you know how I know that? is because they're all online trying to watch Netflix at the same time, and it lags and it breaks up and it doesn't work and it crashes and they got to reset monitors. Does this sound like a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about?
So just moments ago, we received an email here at KSL News Radio. The Utah Education Association is officially calling for a delay in return to school buildings. The Utah Education Association, for those of you, maybe you know, maybe you don't, is the largest teachers union in the state of Utah. Teachers have begun to express grave concerns about their own safety in the class and what school districts have done to take the proper precautions. Some of them have felt that they've been kept in the dark. Now the UEA sending an email to KSL TV and KSL News Radio. It says, rush to open amid rising virus rates puts students, educators, and families at risk. In a continued effort to advocate for the safety and wellness, well-being of students, educators, and communities across Utah, the Utah Education Association calls on the governor, the State Board of Education, and local school districts in impacted areas to delay public K through 12 school reopening plans and instead temporarily resume distance learning to begin the 2021 school year. Schools should remain closed to in-person learning until COVID-19 cases decline, and school districts have reopening plans created with input from educators and carefully reviewed and approved by local health authorities. The local health authorities issue has been a concern. We began talking about this last week on the radio with Wendy Moss, who'd organized a major rally with concerns about, that these school plans to reopen hadn't been properly reviewed. They couldn't figure out who'd reviewed these plans. So, Dave, now this is become an even bigger issue that the UEA is calling on the governor to delay school openings. It looks like in kind of the hotter COVID spots.
I'm going to make it really easy for you. We spend $10,000 per student on education. Give me the $30,000. Give it to me, and I'll figure out a way to educate my kids.
Should we leave it at that?
Just give me that refund. If it's $30,000, I'll try to educate my kids this year.
Well, there you go. This is going to be certainly a very, very discussed conversation throughout the day on KSL News Radio. It's 102.7 FM. You don't have to miss the conversation when you walk in the kitchen. You can always say, Alexa, play KSL News Radio. And then, of course, always stream us live on kslnewsradio.com. I'm Debbie. He's Dave. We have the Dave and Dujanovic show Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11 a.m. on KSL News Radio. And you can tell from listening to Dave for the last, what have we been on, 30, 40 minutes? Tomorrow's show is going to be a hot one. You can't miss it. Okay. See you, Dave.
See ya.